Aquí está, en vivo, señoras y señores, para continuar la fiesta. Orquesta Cache en vivo, dice.
Si mi compadre se muere, no es por falta de cuidado.
Vamos a enredarnos para Nueva York. Si te quieres divertir con el canto y contigo, solo tienes que vivir.
Okay, it looks like I do have sound. We do have everything. Sorry for the delay, folks. Let me just adjust myself. Not my, as you can see, not my usual place, but this was so cool, so important. I wanted to make sure that we were here together. So I'm Curtis Davenport here. Welcome to Conversations with Curtis. Very exciting conversation tonight, as we are going to be talking about some of the hottest and some of the coolest music in the Charlotte area and beyond. As we are going to be having a conversation about the Latin jazz scene in Charlotte. So glad to have with me some great guests tonight. Billy Marrero, Johnny Conga are here with me, and we're just going to be having a great conversation. But before we go any further, we just want to make sure we thank the people that make this show possible tonight. And of course, that is our Jazz Charlotte supporters, our sustainers, our benefactors, our maestros, our arrangers, our composers, and our soloists and aficionados. Thank you so much. Yes. And also our corporate sponsors, the Acres Foundation, Albemarle, Arts and Science Council, Blumenthal's, Charlotte Women's Club Foundation for the Carolinas, IBM, Infobelt, Knight Foundation, Maya Brown, Moore and Van Allen, North Carolina Arts Council, Mertz Heart and Soul, O's Place Jazz, PRP Wine International, the Good Coin Foundation, the Trexler Foundation, United Way of the Central Carolinas, Wells Fargo Foundation, and Wyrick Robbins, Yates, and Ponton LLP. Thank you all for making jazz and making Conversations with Curtis possible. Let's not delay, because I've made y'all wait long enough. Let's have our guests in, our very fine guests, our denizens of Latin jazz, some of the cats that truly keep the music alive, keep it vibrant, keep it hot here in the Carolinas. And so let us welcome in our guests, Billy Marrero, Johnny Conga. Yes, there's Billy. There's Johnny.
All right.
And Phil Merritt. Yes. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, Curtis? How you doing?
Man, we'll have to talk about it offline, but we'll just say it here, man. I really want to talk to you cats tonight. I'm just so glad to be here. So we're just going to make it happen. First of all, thank you to the three of you gentlemen for being here. And before we go do anything else, let's go all the way back to beginning now, when we were having some of our pre-show conversation, and that's what we do. I know I heard mention that Billy and Johnny, you've never played before. Naturally, Phil and Billy have done a lot of work before, but Billy and Johnny, now you've never played before, but Billy, I heard the fact that you once did actually have some interaction with the great Johnny Conga. Can we talk a little bit about when y'all passed each other?
Sure. I've never had the opportunity to play with Johnny, and which hopefully now with this connection, that could be in the brewing for something coming up. Sure. But I met Johnny, and as I said at the pre-show, I didn't know if you remember, but in 1984, when I first moved to Miami from Puerto Rico, I was out there checking the scenes out, and I went to South Beach, and there was a club there, which I don't know if it still exists there, but it was called Mango.
Yeah. And it's still there.
It's still there, yeah. And Johnny was playing there with his band, and we met there briefly. We spoke very briefly, and that was many, many, many moons ago. And then I kind of lost touch. We never really connected. But obviously, I know, Johnny's had a terrific career, and he's played everywhere with everyone. And he's one of the true pioneers of this music. And on the conga drum itself, he's one of the best congueros I've ever heard. He's truly a true. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what I just heard with your band was smoking, and that timbale solo was happening, man. Nice.
Well, it's funny because I never really played timbales in Miami. I was more playing bongo, campana, and doing coros and background vocals. But when I moved here to North Carolina, there were a lot of bongoceros. There was only one or two timbaleros, and I kind of got bullied into playing timbal. Because I went, the first band, one of the first bands I played here, the Tropic Orchestra with Ricardo Diquez, which is still around. I went as a bongocero, and they had a timbalero. And then after 2 or 3 gigs, the timbalero decided to go. And then Ricardo said, "You play timbal?" I said, "Well, I can play timbal, but I'm not a timbalero. I have a timbal." And he says, no, but I need you to play the next gig on timbal. So I said, well, okay, but I'm not no fancy, you know, doing all these rolls and nothing. I can keep time, and that's all I need. And it's been almost 14 years now. I kind of liked it, and
well, it works.
Bongo is what I like in my heart. I'm a bongocero, but all the projects that we've done here, I've been basically on timbal on most of them.
Yeah. Very nice, man.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, good to have you both. And let's get Brother Phil Merritt in here as well. Phil, now I know you've had a little bit of a different background than these two cats. I know you have also done quite a lot of work in traditional jazz, but tell me a little bit, Phil, how you first got involved in the Latin and Afro-Cuban scene.
Being a jazz pianist, sometimes I would hear another local pianist throw in a montuno, and I was intrigued by that. I was like, what is that? It really caught my ears, and I go up afterwards and ask them, what is that? What is it called? How do you do that? And after a while, I found this book by Rebecca Mauleon Santana, the guidebook, salsa guidebook for piano, and
I got mine.
that had montunos in there, and that really helped me out a lot. And I started playing with a band called Carnavalito, and I learned a lot from those guys. And actually, one of those guys, we play with Billy, and I've learned a lot from Billy too. So the music kind of pulled me in. I like to think of it that way. It's like the music caught my ear and came and got me and said, "Come play me."
So hey, the music you didn't pick the music picked you.
The music picked me, yeah.
Actually, Carnavalito is where I met Phil. They had been around for a while already. They were kind of like the only band in this area that was doing kind of like the Latin jazz. And they were basically instrumental. There was no lead vocalist. They do some choros or stuff. But and I was fortunate that I went to a park. When I first moved here, Carnavalito was playing at a little festival, Latin festival at a park. And I went and I saw them. And I noticed they didn't have a bongocero. They had timbales and conga. So I kind of approached them and say, hey, I'm new in town. I play bongo, blah, 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 blah. And gave them my number. And then I got some information or whatever. But eventually they called me in to go play. The owner of the band was the bass player. His name is Ricardo Granillo. And he said, listen, I need a conga player for a gig. And then I said, well, I'm not a conga player either, but I could keep time. And then so we went, and then I don't know, we spent a couple years with Carnavalito.
Yeah.
Until Ricardo kind of semi-retired and kind of retired the band, and then we kind of like noticed that I said, there's a void here for Latin jazz. There's no Latin jazz bands here. There was like 3 or 4, maybe 5 salsa bands, big bands, but there was no one really playing Latin jazz. And so back then the musical director for Carnavalito was the trumpet player, Alberto Carrasquillo from Puerto Rico. And I told Alberto, listen, Ricardo doesn't want to play anymore. And, he's not looking for any gigs. What do you think if we do something? So we did. We wound up making Jazzeando, which was the group that went Friday to Charlotte. And we started off as a 5-piece. So we had a drum kit, and I was on percussion, piano, bass, and Alberto on the trumpet, which we're kind of the same musicians from Carnavalito, because Alberto was in Carnavalito, and obviously Phil, and then Paco joined us, and he was also one of the percussionists in Carnavalito, and it was kind of like a Carnavalito Junior, and that was I don't remember, that was years ago. Yeah. I think Jazzeando's been active already probably for 9 years or something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, and I think for our audience as well. Billy, this is directly, at least for you, and I guess other cats can jump in as well. We have, when we talk about this music with its roots and in the islands, with its roots in Cuba, with its roots in Puerto Rico, We sometimes you'll hear people talk about salsa. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about Afro-Cuban. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about Latin jazz. Can you, and I've written a little bit about it, but I think y'all can explain it better than I can. Can any of y'all differentiate for our audience between those styles of music? What makes one and one makes the other the other? Can y'all just tell us?
Well, I think that's a Johnny question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Johnny. It's all yours, brother.
All right. First of all, salsa is the generic term for Latin dance music.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before that, Latin dance music was based upon dance forms like the cha-cha-cha and the mambo.
Mm-hmm.
So it happened in what's his name from Find Your Records, Jerry Masucci.
Yeah, Jerry Masucci. Yeah.
To tag Latin music, let's just call it salsa from now on, because it was just a little bit too much information, I guess, and just turn it into generic terms so everybody knows what it is. It's still Latin music. We just call it salsa. Latin jazz is a hybrid form of music created here in the United States. The first ensemble I would consider would be the Cal Tjader 1954 Latin Jazz Quintet.
Okay.
There was another one out of LA, Bobby.
Sanabria?
No. Bobby Montez.
Okay.
Who was another vibe player who had another little Latin jazz. It's a hybrid form of music that was created in this country, in country alone. Afro-Cuban music deals with music coming from Cuba.
That's my heart.
They don't call their music salsa. They don't call it anything. They call their music Afro-Cuban. If they call it jazz, it's Afro-Cuban jazz.
Yeah.
They still have their dance forms of cha-cha-cha, but now they have timba, they have pilon, they have all these other dance rhythms, because Cuban music is based upon dance music, period. It always has.
All right.
And what was the other one you mentioned? You mentioned salsa, Afro-Cuban.
Afro-Cuban, and I mentioned Latin jazz. You covered it all, brother. You got it from what I mentioned. If there's more, please go on. And just to let you and the audience know, I'm going to have to move my location. I'm not getting off again, but crazy things are going on here. I am losing light and I don't have access. I just tried to turn the light switch on in the room where I am and it didn't work. So I'm going to shortly move out into a place where I can get light, because we ain't stopping this conversation. But
Okay.
I have good web access, but we'll just keep it going. So if I'm walking, it's for a reason. But go ahead, man.
But you don't look dark there. It looks nice and bright where you're at.
Yeah, we can see fine.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm bright and handsome, brothers. You know, there you go. I'm bright, dark, and handsome.
What I was going to say with the music thing, when I was a kid, my father had a record store. This was in Milwaukee. I grew up in Milwaukee. I was born in Milwaukee. And as a kid, I don't know, 6, 7 years old, my dad had a record store and he sold all kinds of stuff. But the music that, that like Johnny was saying, they labeled it, Masucci, the Hofania thing with Easy Sanabria and, the salsa movement. But all that music, was guaracha. We knew it as guaracha. And it was basically the same thing. When the Gran Combo, which was one of the first, big bands of Latin dance music, which now they call salsa, there was just guaracha and cha-cha-cha and, mambo y danzón and things like that. And then obviously, commercialized, the whole salsa thing. And they say, oh, you have a salsa band. And I have a Latin music. We play Latin dance music. But yeah, okay, you want to label it salsa, okay, because they say it's a mix of a bunch of stuff. That's great, whatever, as long as it gets played and it's out there. But yeah, we used to just call it guaracha. It was a guaracha, and there was all forms of it. It would be conjuntos with, a couple of guitars and a percussionist and some minor hand percussion, and they would jam. And obviously, became what it is now. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's always Cuba. It's always a song, and then from there, everything else kind of,
yeah, it branched out.
Kind of evolved from there.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask another question to Johnny, then I'm going to throw off to Phil about this one. But Billy, you already talked a little bit about how you ended up here in the Carolinas. But Johnny, now, you've ended up here in Charlotte, and let's keep it real, man. You know, when cats think of a place that is a hotbed, a place where a cat who's as well known and as famed as you in this genre, in the Latin, in the Afro-Cuban scene, that how did you end up there? Hey, I love Charlotte, I live here myself, but how did you end up here, man?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to keep
I
it.
got time.
First of all, I'm a gypsy.
All right.
I've been moving every 10 years for the past 50 years, literally. I moved here primarily to be with my son, because I didn't get to be personally, I didn't get to raise him. We were separated, and we've been together now for years. And, you know, I was living in Florida. He was living up here. I came up for how I met Lonnie and everything was that I had called her ahead of time because I found about the jazz festival uptown, and she called me and asked me how long I was going to come up and blah blah blah. Would I like to play uptown? And I said yes, I'd love to, as an opportunity. So I came up for a 4-day vacation and wound up gigging uptown. It was very successful and everything like that. I was able to use the Rodriguez father and son and a few other people that I was able to find and do the gig and everything. And I kind of liked the vibe up here because I actually heard people applaud, which you don't get in Florida. You know, nobody was on their cell phone. I was just so amazed at the attention people paid to my music and what we were playing. Because I know this isn't I didn't come up here to try to make a musical career for myself. You know, I've had my career.
Well, yeah, you've done that already, man.
You know, I got burnt out on Miami, living there for 25 years. I even left for 10 years to go to Seattle, and then I came back for another 5 years, and I said, no, I'm done after that last hurricane. And the water's rising, and I don't own a boat, and I can't swim. So, I actually checked out how high Charlotte is off the ground. It's like 780 feet, you know, and 3 hours from the ocean, so it's cool.
Yeah, we get rained on a bit, but I'm not saying never because it has happened, but hurricanes, it takes a lot for one to make it this far inland and up. So
yeah, you know. But so I really liked it up here. I liked the vibe. I liked the people. It was so, everybody was so engaging and everything like that. And I'm like, you know, this ain't bad. And then it took a year to find a place. And I realized, wow, we can live here better than we're living here in Miami and stuff like that. And you know, we'll just get out of here, and I don't have to deal with snakes and all this other, you know, tropical stuff. I love the tropics, but I don't like the rodents that come along with it.
Oh yeah.
I had to deal with too many, you know, snakes and rats and all kinds of stuff like that down there, and it's too much. You know, I want to live like that. Now I got rabbits and squirrels and birds in my yard. Hooray!
Hey, you know, squirrels are cool. Rats, not so much. You know. Now that goes. So, Mr. Merritt. Now I know you've. Let's talk a little bit about to get our audience to know you a little bit more. I just had the pleasure of first meeting you this last Friday night when you came over as part of Jazziando here in our Jazz Room Summer Edition. And if y'all missed it, shame on you. They were killing out here that night. But Mr. Merritt, let's talk a little bit about what you've done other than play and do some excellent work with Billy. Can you talk a little bit about some of the folks and some of the things that you've done within the Latin and Afro-Cuban jazz community?
First of all, I am just retiring 30 years from teaching elementary school music, public school music.
Wow.
So I've been doing that for 30 years, and I like to any chance I get to introduce this music to my classes in school. I take that opportunity to do that. Even had them dancing a little bit of salsa a few times. Just very basic steps. I'm not really a dancer, so I just learned some simple steps that were taught to me. and then and what was your question?
Well, just talk a little bit about some of the people in the Latin jazz and the salsa and the Afro-Cuban community that you've played with besides Billy. We know you've done some outstanding work with Billy Marrero, but who else have you had an opportunity to work with?
I played for years with Ricardo Granillo, with Carnavalito, the leader of that band. I sub every once in a while for Ari with Orquesta Caché, and she subs for me every once in a while. So we're under the umbrella of Salsa Wiz Productions. So we're both part of the musicians that are available to complete an ensemble.
Nice.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead, Billy. It sounds like you were about to say something, man.
I'm gonna jump in there. Yeah, Phil, he's played around with most of the bands from the area here. Phil is kind of like the go-to, because of the 30 years in school kind of limited him to what he was doing, but he was the go-to guy when someone's keyboard piano player couldn't make it, because Phil is a sight reader and he knows the music. So they would just throw him the charts and, and sit in. He's played, and I know with, a few of the bands here, he's played also, I think you wrote a couple of charts that were recorded by back then, the band Same Kumba or something. I think you made an arrangement for them that they recorded.
I forgot about Same Kumba. I can't believe I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, Same Kumba, they recorded a chart or two that I think you wrote the chart for them, and most of the local bands Phil's sat in at one point or another.
Yeah.
Because of that, his knowledge of the music and his ability to read, and he just I don't read music. And I feel I play, but Phil can sit down and okay, here we go, and play it. So with little rehearsal. So he's the man in town when you need a keyboard player.
Nice.
I need a keyboard player.
I was just about to say, Billy, you better not say that too loud. Folks may be listening, man.
Well, we have an arrangement. We have an arrangement that he doesn't play with anyone else other than me, unless I tell him it's okay to.
That's all right, man.
No, well, obviously no one is under contract, but it's funny because sometimes I'll get a call. Hey, I'm going to need a piano. Can I use your piano player? And I said, man, they don't belong to me. This is their number if they could do it. But I've been lucky that the people that I have surrounded myself with for the bands, for all the projects that we do, they've been very loyal. And
nice.
Cache's been 11 years. And I have some of the guys in the band that have been there the whole 11 years,
Cool.
And 9 years, 10 years, 11 years. And they've been pretty, available for me. And they've turned down other gigs, higher paying gigs, to do a gig with me and with one of our projects. Because, there's a relationship already. It's more kind of like family,
It's a band.
It's a family.
It's a band, man.
Yeah.
It's a family, Phil, like I said, I've known Phil for 14 years now, and we've been playing. And I think I'd be correct in saying that in those 14 years, he's played more with me than with anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
I would think,
Cool.
because I have the same people. That's the list that I go through for this. Jazzeando, obviously, I use Phil because he is the jazz pianist, and then he knows the Latin vibe. For Caché, I have Ari, but Phil has been Caché as well. When at one point when we didn't have a keyboard player, and then Ari came from Cuba, and then she kind of settled in, and then Phil kind of dedicated himself to the Jazzeando project, and then Ariana Nacianceno, which is our keyboard player, that went to you met her.
Oh yes,
and then she does the Caché. Yeah, outstanding. Yeah, another perfect sight reader. I mean, she can read it upside down. She's very talented. Yeah. Her father is the musical director of Orquesta Riverside in Cuba. And one of the charts that we played, if you remember, when over at the jazz room, we played. He had made the arrangement for a sender from Cuba for us for Manicero.
Yes,
and we did that. That was the first time we ever played that chart.
It was beautiful. I remember just the story. You didn't get to hear or see, Billy, because you were on the stage, but I had stepped outside for a minute during that, and I encountered this older gentleman, looked like he was around in his 70s, maybe his 80s, and he was just in tears during that arrangement. And I just asked him, hey, you okay? And he said to me, when he could catch his breath, he says, you don't understand. He says, this is my soul. This is my music. And I don't get to hear it anymore.
Wow.
And you have brought it to me. You all have just brought it to me tonight. And just thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please thank these musicians. He says, you don't know what this means to me. He was just so moved beyond belief. So I don't think I ever got a chance to tell you that, Billy. But
No, you hadn't. You hadn't. That's incredible, and I'll pass that along to the guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that El Manicero, that was just such an incredible arrangement that just moved that man. I mean, he was the most obviously moved, but so many more were.
Well, and the thing was that we played that song and Adi sang it, which Adi's not a singer.
Yeah.
She's just our piano player. But since her dad made the arrangements, I had told her, Adi, why don't you sing the song? And she goes, no, I don't know. I never sung in public. I said, we're family here. Your dad made the arrangement. You got to sing this song. And she sang it. I thought she did a pretty good job.
She did. She really did. Hey, as being there myself, I can say definitely. Let's continue to talk a little bit about the scene here in Charlotte now, or not just Charlotte. Let me just not be so limiting. Let's talk about the scene here in the Carolinas area, in our 200-mile radius or so, going up to the Triangle, down here to Charlotte, down into Columbia, South Carolina, and that area. Let's talk about what you all see for the future of this scene. First of all, do you see a future? And if so, where does it lie? What is the thing that's going to bring strength into our music, into our Latin music scene in the future?
Well, I think people like yourself with the jazz arts, and over here in our area, we have some groups. And I'll be very honest with you. I play more in North Carolina than I did in Miami. Wow. I lived in Miami 24 plus years. And I did a lot of stuff, different projects and whatever. But when I moved here, I thought I would be kind of semi-retired from music. And I said, well, I go to North Carolina, it's going to be different. I'm going to chill, and I'm going to probably lay back or go to a couple of shows here and there. But, we're musicians. And, as soon as I saw that band, Carnavalito, I got to get in that, and then Orquesta Caché was born, a year after that or whatever, 2 years later. But I play more here. We have Orquesta Caché, which is the main product, and we have Jazzeando Latin Jazz. We have a group called Caribe Vibe. We have a group, we did a trio, the PM Trio, the Phil Merritt Trio, with percussion, piano, and bass. Nice. With Phil and our bass player, Paul, from Orquesta Caché. I had like 5, and now we have a little sequence band when the pandemic hit, that they weren't hiring any bands. We got a little 3-piece together, sequence music with live percussion, and that's called Grupo Alto Calibre. So between those 5, my friends in Miami would say, man, you're always playing. I play once every 6 months, and you play 6 times a month. And I said, well, I got like 5 different projects going on at the same time. So if I don't get called for one, I get called for the other. But I think that people love the music. I mean, it's like Johnny says, he played here. He said that once he mentioned that they were applauding. And then sometimes you play in Miami, people are just like, okay,
Maybe they're spoiled,
Yeah, I don't know. And here you see the mix, the diversity, the Latino and Asians and Black and everybody dancing and everybody enjoying the music. And if I remember correctly, Miami, you would go and it was a Latin thing. It was just like Latin people. I mean, there would be a little bit of a mix, but here it's more of a mix. We do these festivals and you see people from all walks, and everybody enjoying the music. So I think that the music's got a good future. I mean, I think that, we love it, and we're going to continue doing it until we can't. And then you got the young people coming up. Johnny and I were talking before we went on air about the whole reggaeton kind of thing that's out there and most of the clubs and the younger people, but they're still, you got to keep throwing the traditional stuff out there, and they know what it is a little bit to a point, because the radio doesn't play it. I mean, we don't have a lot of radio here. The radio that's here in our area is more like geared towards banda music, Mexican music. And you don't have a lot of Caribbean stuff over here in my area. So that's obviously not good because the young people don't hear it. All they hear is the reggaeton stuff.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I'm not criticizing.
No. I hear you. I hear you.
You know, I can listen to it a little bit, but I don't know. You know, I don't really. You know, it's not my thing.
No, hey,
I rather
not
listen
really.
to the Mo Fania records or something
Oh yeah, man. Come on. I grew up with that, man.
Yo Cuba or something else. You know.
Shut up, man.
Yeah, that's instead of the reggaeton. You know.
Yeah, man. Let
I'm
me tell
past
you
that
all
age,
this
I
really-
guess. I'm 63 years old, so I'm out of that scene. I'm out of that
Oh,
scene.
hey, you know, I'm pretty close to that, you know, so, you know, I hear you, man. Let me just tell the audience one thing really quickly for those of you watching and listening in. In about 5-6 minutes, we're going to come to you, looking to you for your questions. So hopefully there have been some coming in. As I said, I've been on the move here, kind of doing a guerrilla version of the show tonight, but, you know, not in my usual space with all my cool posters behind me, but we're getting it done. But we're going to come to you for your questions. So if you have some questions, some things that you would like to ask our guests, get it ready, because if you don't, I'm just going to keep talking. All right. So, you know, because I have a lot to say, a lot to ask these cats about, and a lot that I want to know about. So where, let me ask. Yeah, go ahead, Johnny, please, man. Please, brother.
Yeah, I'm the new guy here, so I'm going on 3 years here, minus 1 year of COVID. So it's like,
Well,
Yeah.
you know, here's how I see it. I'm an educator as well. I've taught in many places around the country, and I've had the same situations where it's a matter of cultural education. What makes Afro-Cuban music, Latin music, is the rhythm. What makes that rhythm are 3 instruments: congas, bongos, and timbales. You add the piano on the bass. That's your rhythm section. But without the exposure of what we call in the Latin music field, the la familia, the family, conga, bongo, y timbal, you know, without that exposure, the music won't happen, because you need players of those instruments and able to play Latin jazz music.
yeah.
Horns, no problem. Bass and piano, no problem, because they can all read. But to actually find timbale players, bongo players, and know the music, know the formula, know the form, that has to be taught here. That's another reason why I'm here, actually. I'm hoping I can get into a teaching situation of actually creating the first Latin jazz orchestra of youth, or maybe a youth orchestra and an adult Latin jazz orchestra. With the music that I have, because I got a book, I got charts for days, so I can provide the music.
No doubt.
You know, because that music's not readily available here either. I got the music. Nobody else does. Not that I know of. Because there's Latin bands here, but they play Latin music. They play Latin dance. They don't play Latin jazz. It hasn't really garnered a foothold here yet, because there aren't any expressions of the music yet. That's why I'm here also, to provide that, try to create it and provide it, like Billy's doing where he's at. He's been doing it for a long time. He's been very successful at it, you know? So I feel like eventually I can get in there and do the same thing here in Charlotte, to just add another part of the musical scene, you know, Latin jazz, you know, created here. First time, why not?
Why not, man?
We got great musicians here.
Yeah,
The hard part is finding the Latin or non-Latin rhythmic musicians that could play those 3 instruments. You know, and those aren't popular instruments here, because culturally this isn't a Latin musical town, at least not yet. You know, I mean, there is Latin music here, that's for sure. I mean, even Diego Gali was here over the weekend. I don't know. I didn't even know about it. I don't know how. I didn't see any promo for it, but he was here. He came and went.
Yeah, I didn't see any promo for that either. Then I saw some video that Walter, the Romero boys, Walter and Walter Jr. put up, and they were there, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know he was in town." And I was there Friday. I didn't hear anything.
Nobody shares the information like they should share the information, man. Let everybody know what's going on. You know, I mean, Why not? You know, the more people find out, the more people can enjoy stuff like that. Not find out a day or two later.
Yeah, over here they're starting to bring more acts. We got like some merengue guy, Fernandito Villalona, coming to Raleigh, and Gilberto Santa Rosa is coming later, a couple months from now. Jerry Rivera is coming with, I think he's bringing a band from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So they're doing some stuff over here. When we play with Orquesta Caché, the charts that I play are old school salsa. I'm not too much hip with the new stuff from now. I play stuff from the 70s and the 80s, you know, Fania, Barreto, Ponceña, that kind of stuff. And when I have some younger people dancing, they go, "Oh, I remember I saw my dad used to play that." Because the dad is probably my age. And I go, "Well, yeah, well, your dad knows about music then, you know." Barreto and all that, you know, like I said, the LeBron brothers. And there was just so much music back, you know, coming out of New York, really out of the New York scene. And some of the West Coast, but you know, I was more geared toward the New York stuff that would come out of there, and which eventually like got labeled salsa eventually. But when we play it, you know, that's what I like to play. And so I play songs that I like because I know other people like them and no one is playing them. I try to always know what the other bands are playing, and what I play in my repertoire from our band, no one else plays that, and that kind of sets us apart from the other local bands because they kind of everybody's playing the same charts, you know, and so I have a collection like Johnny, you know, I have over 3,000 salsa charts, you know, so that's in my library. So we kind of keep pulling stuff up. Oh, let's play this, you know. Oh, we haven't played this. And there's some obviously that you do more often, and people ask for some songs, but there's some songs that the public will ask me, "Oh, play this." And I don't play them because they're just too played out. And I say, yeah, it's coming up in the next set. It's coming up in the next set. But, you know, there's a few songs that say, I'm not playing those songs, you know. But I think we try to keep it interesting. But the Latin jazz scene here, again, like Johnny says, there's a lot of horn players here. I mean, you know, we got Duke, and you got UNC, and you got Central. I mean, we got a lot of musicians over here. And people that can read, like, you know, like Phil. But like Johnny says, you know, conga, you know, you can read the music, conga, timbal, and bongo, but you got to have that feel, you know, and a lot of youngins don't. There's a few young cats down here that are kind of opening their minds to it, but the majority of the percussionists in my area, they're like me, you know, but not as old as me, some a little younger, but we're more old school guys than say, oh, there's a lot of 16-year-old or 18-year-olds that are doing it, you know.
Yeah, they haven't got the exposure.
They haven't had the exposure. There's no radio. There's no, you know, all they hear is this other stuff, and that's what they grew up with. And then, you know, and then sometimes it would just be, even in Miami, was a point where it was Celia Cruz, Gilberto Santa Rosa, El Gran Combo. You know, it was like the same 4 or 5, Willie Chirino, and which they're all great. Yeah. But I would say there's so many other bands out there in New York and Colombia and Puerto Rico and Venezuela, wherever, that are, and you never heard them on the radio or anything. It's just everybody's salsa. Okay, Celia Cruz, and I love Celia Cruz. We did a tribute to her a couple years ago, which was phenomenal. Which I had said we need to do it at Charlotte one of these years. You know, go down and do a Celia Cruz tribute. But you know, there's so many artists out there. Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, we did a Celia Cruz tribute, we did a Hector Lavoe tribute, and we did a Gran Combo tribute. All three were, you know, very nice, and it came out really nice. People really enjoyed it. But then COVID hit, like Johnny says, and we've been out of commission for 1.5 years.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit, and I'm going to let the audience speak in a minute. But let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. That is COVID. Now, it does appear that, at least at this point, we seem to be coming out of it in some way, shape, or form. Let's talk about how it affected all of you as musicians, as living, working musicians, and how you're able to start making it back now. What has let you know that the scene is on its way back? And I'll let any one of you who wants to talk about it first talk about it.
Well, I know, like, for example, Phil hasn't played a lot because I usually call him to play. Yeah. And with the COVID, you know, I wasn't getting any bookings. You know, we hadn't booked anything for over a year. Again, we did the sequence band. We've been doing that. But with the live band, Orquesta Caché or Jazzeando or Caribe Vibe, that was all on lockdown. So, you know, and we weren't even getting together. We did a Caché rehearsal maybe like 2 months ago, and there were members of the band that have been in the band for 11 years that I hadn't seen in a year and a half since the COVID. We would talk on the phone and whatever, but we weren't getting together. Everybody was, keeping their distance, and now everybody's fully vaccinated, and it's opening up. And I know it's changing because I'm getting calls all the time. Oh, I want to hire the band. I got a call today for a gig on August 7th in Wilmington with Orquesta Caché that I had to turn down because we're already booked for August 7th with Orquesta Caché for a Puerto Rican festival in Fayetteville. So
Nice.
Things are popping up. We're getting calls. You guys called for the Victoria Yards, and so things are opening up. Starting to get phone calls, for bookings for the band. And we already have probably like 4 or 5 bookings for Caché from now through October. So things are opening up, and I'm hoping it opens up for Jazzeando because that's a project that I really like. I enjoy doing the Latin jazz part of it. I'm a salsero at heart, but I love playing the Latin jazz genre, and I love the lineup that we have. And it was so much fun for me to go, or for all of us, when we went over there on Friday and got together.
It was spectacular, man. Let me
We had that young trumpet player sit in with us that lives in Charlotte, Ariel Mejia.
Yes.
He's like 19, 20 years old. That boy can play. I was like very impressed. Actually, I spoke with him today because I hired him to do a gig with us in Caché. When we go to Charlotte, actually, we have a Caché Charlotte coming up at the end of August, and he's going to sit in with us and do lead trumpet on that gig because my trumpet player can't make it.
Oh, yeah. Ariel is one of our students, man. He came up through our program from about the age of maybe 14 or 15 with us, and he is just grown into this. Not only he's an incredible young man, but as you see, an incredible musician.
Yeah,
as well,
he's super down-to-earth kid. OC had talked to me about him and said, there's this kid, you got to meet him. And he's a nice kid, humble, and obviously very hungry to play. And that's what we need, young guys like that to get into the genre and do it, because they're excellent musicians.
Yeah. So Johnny Phil, on that same question about getting back after COVID.
Let me see. Let me say, I gained like 10 to 15 pounds.
I beat you.
I got them COVID pounds on me. It was psychologically it was a trip, and emotionally it was a trip because I got to the point I was like, man, I wonder if I'm going to be able to play again. How long is this going to last? You ask these questions, then you question your own abilities, and then I'm playing in this room for a whole year by myself, trying to entertain myself. Psychologically, it was very intense, for everybody. It wasn't just me as a musician, but anybody, that had to stay indoors and, psychologically deal with this whole change that came upon us. But now it's starting to open up. I've already done a few gigs, which is nice. I got gigs lined up. Lost a lot of work, for that year. Yeah. So it's like now it's starting to come back. The crowds are nice. People came out on our last gig, and it's nice to hear the applause, and nobody's on their phones, and it's just nice to get out and about, and the service that we provide as musicians and artists, man, is definitely something that has to stay on. And keep alive. I don't want to see robots 25 years from now playing, instruments and stuff like they already have them. The Japanese created them, but I wouldn't go to a concert to see a bunch of robots playing. I want to see live human beings. Very good at what they do, and feels, because the music is about emotion and feeling and spirit. So this is what we do. And we need this. We need it for our spirit and our beings itself. Music provides that for us. It touches you in a way that nothing else does, really. It just makes you feel good. It helps you get away from things, something that you can enjoy and then take home with you, as a memory. Yeah. So it's all those things came into question with me for over a year and a half, until get vaccinated, and finally start gigging here and there, which is cool. And, now that things are starting to open up in Charlotte and everything, and people are back to playing, and we're working around the things. We learn new things, that's for sure. It kind of gave us a different insight on how we do things and how we can do things, now.
Yeah.
So things are good. Things will change, of course. Everything does like that over time with this kind of a situation, because people found themselves in a very unique position as to like rediscover who they are as well.
Yeah.
I know we spend a lot of time just sitting around going like, damn. Damn. How long are we gonna do this?
Looking at the
Binge
walls,
watching.
man.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like you said, during the last year, 2020, I mean, we lost just with Cache alone. We already had like 10 bookings on the books.
Yeah,
It's not easy to book a 12-piece band. And then, when you get them, you're like, yes. And then all of a sudden, even with you guys, the Jazz Arts, we were going to go back, and we were doing the 3-nighter. We were going to do a 3-nighter.
We hated it, man, but nothing we could do,
But it is what it is. So we're hoping, and people, obviously, like Johnny says, after we've been locked up for a year and a half, now that it's opening up, people are going out there too. They want to get out and they want to listen to the music. It's a great time right now because people are getting out there and, they want to enjoy the live music. Because DJs are great. I love my DJs, but there's nothing like a live band. Like Johnny says, you get that emotion. And me, when I'm playing and I see people dancing, I go, we did our job. They're happy, they're dancing, and we did what we did there. And they're applauding, and that's awesome. Yeah.
So, Phil, on that same question, I don't want to leave you out, and I do see I got like 2 or 3 questions, a lot of beautiful comments, but also a few questions there. So, Phil, with you being retired now or about to retire and getting out, so how's it been for you starting to get out again?
Oh, I'd say let's see. I'm well, it's regarding retirement. Were you talking about COVID specifically? Or?
Yeah, I was talking about now that COVID is coming to an end, and of course, I know that as an educator, I know COVID had its own challenges for you.
Yeah, I had a lot of challenges there. It's in the school. I can see things are loosening up. Everybody's still wearing a mask, but I'm back in my classroom again, and I'm not teaching online anymore, and get to see my students face to face, and we're singing again, and which is music to my ears. Just glad to hear my kids singing. And then as far as working, the things that picked up since people have been getting vaccinated, and I've noticed working with Jazziando, we've picked up a few gigs, and we still have something booked in the future. Let's see.
Things are loosening up. They're loosening up, and bookings will start falling in, and we'll start getting busy again. Hopefully,
things are loosening up.
All right, let me see. I got a few questions here. A few things we want to make sure we share. One from Mr. Calvin Davis here. He's asking the question: what are the fundamental musical elements of playing Latin jazz? So once again, to any one of you who would like to handle that question,
well, I think Johnny touched on that, which were the family, like he said, la familia, the timbal, the conga, and the bongo,
right?
Is just essential for it. Although a lot of Latin jazz with a drum kit as well, obviously the percussion, that rhythm section, piano and bass, and but you got to have that feeling. You got to have that feeling for the Latin percussion.
Yeah, you have your Latin rhythms and your jazz harmonies coming together.
Yeah.
So, and in the rhythm section, you really have to know rhythmic styles. It's not just one style of playing. It's rhythmic styles that are like, I play Latin jazz. It's all instrumental, but yet it's still danceable.
Oh yeah.
That's what I try to do, keep my music at least danceable, though instrumental. I might have some tunes that have shout choruses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now and then. But the elements are Latin rhythm mixed with jazz harmonies and melodies.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But always danceable. I've gotten calls for, and the budgets. I said, well, I could go with Jazziando. I can't do that budget with Cache, but we could do it. Oh, but we want to dance. And I go, but it's Latin jazz. It's a bunch of mambos, and we're doing danceable stuff. You know, it's so then when they hear what it is, oh, it's like Tito Puente. I go, yeah, like Tito Puente. Yeah, it's like Tito Puente.
It's a good reference. It's a good reference.
So I said it's danceable music. It's not obviously we mix it up and we'll throw in something slow or whatever, but the Latin jazz itself with that percussion of timbal, conga, you have that. It's lively. It's very danceable.
Right.
Yeah.
You just don't have the vocals.
Yeah.
Right.
So you enjoy more the music. It's not the vocals,
Well, there you go. Got a question from our good friend Oscar Grooms. He wants to know, tell us the difference in the New York scene and the scene out on the West Coast.
The scene in New York is went through phases. Went through different eras of faders, from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s to 70s to the 80s, all different generational styles. Some years, like in the 60s, incorporated not only the cha-cha-cha and the mambo, but we had boogaloo, and then we had pachanga. These are different dance forms of music that came along at different periods. Then salsa started in the 70s, and everything just became under one umbrella. So it was hard to differentiate. Now, we had a density of Cuban and Puerto Rican musicians that created that whole scene in New York City. Now you go to the West Coast, you had few Cubans who was, well, not really. You had Xavier Cugat and his orchestra, and he was from Spain, and he was in the movies in the 30s and 40s and helped to create the beginning of a Latin movement. He was like the first commercially successful Latin band leader in America at the time. So it was and then you have the Mexican influence, which came later through Santana, mixing and melding rock rhythms with Latin rhythms. And he found all the rhythmic players accidentally. Chepito was found by somebody else, and Mike Arabella was found in a park playing by Carlos. It was like one of those things. But the melding of the Latin rhythms with the rock rhythms, boom, exploded. So it's a generational thing. Now they have I was in LA for 10 years from 76 to 86. So I went through a lot of different Latin bands, Cuban bands, all kinds of great bands. They're very integrated, with different types of Latin personalities from Venezuela and Colombia and Puerto Rico and Cuba, Mexican, all playing together. Which is a great thing, a beautiful thing to see all these Latin ethnic groups coming together to play this one form of music that we all love to play. So it's a generational thing. New York had its start. It was a center. That's where it exploded and grew out of, and then expanded from there.
All right. Got it. I'm sorry. Somebody else was about to say, I don't want to step on anybody's toes there. Okay, but just... we got a couple of coming to about the end of the time. I see one more question and definitely a couple of words of encouragement. I'm here as I'm reading the chat. I see my friend Cynthia Diaz is on. Yes, she's a New Yorker like me. She talks about falling in love with the music with her dad from Puerto Rico, always playing the music and everyone would dance. And she encourages y'all, said people are crazy to get out. So now is the time definitely for y'all to go forward. And so encouragement there. One more question that my friend Oscar has to ask. Mr. Groom says, did the pandemic open up new revenue streams that you will continue?
Well, in my case, it did. As I mentioned, that we had talked about the concept. In Puerto Rico, there's a big concept of the sequence bands. And you go to restaurants, a lot of small places, they don't have a budget. They don't have the logistics for a big band. So in Puerto Rico, there's a big movement with these sequence bands where there's maybe 3 or 4 members. And, some of the music is played live and then the rest is piped in on tracks. And we had talked about doing that here. But, I was busy with Jazzeando and with Caché and with the trio doing other stuff. But when the pandemic hit that no one was hiring, and then you have these smaller restaurants that are working at 50% capacity. I really like some music for my customers. We said, well, maybe it's time to get this concept of the sequence thing and the track music going. And so we kind of pushed it and got it going, which is, like I said, Grupo Alto Calibre. and it's a 3-piece, sometimes 4, and the percussion is played live, timbal, conga, and bongo, and the singer and the backgrounds. But then, piano, bass, and horns are sequenced in, are tracked in. And yes, it created a new line of revenue within all the situation of the pandemic that there wasn't revenue. And I'm sure we're going to continue because we could do it for small venues, for little restaurants, little pubs, people that can't hire a 12-piece band or an 8-piece band, and they want some salsa and some merengue, some cumbia, some bachata. And, the sequence that worked. And during the 2020, we played. And we still play. So it's show Saturday. We did the Friday with Jazziano, and Saturday over here in Raleigh we had with the Alto Calibre. So people like it, they dance. So we'll continue doing it.
Yeah.
Obviously, our focus is going to be with Orquesta Caché and Jazziano Latin Jazz. But on those off weekends where we don't have anything, we'll go do the sequence and help out the smaller businesses, which help them get people in because there's music, let's go. And help them to get their businesses off the grounds again.
Yeah. Well, keep on doing what you're doing, cats. We're just so glad to sit with you a little while. So glad to have you back, and just keep this music alive because this music is special. I grew up on it as well. Me, a black kid born in the Bronx, but coming out of my window when I was
Bronx in the house.
What's that?
Bronx in the house.
Yeah, baby, that's it. Coming out of my window as a kid, there was always open up the window. There was Tito, there was Machito, and there was Celia
James
Cruz,
Brown.
That's it. And my parents were always at Palladium, man. So,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so am mine.
Right.
Yeah, my parents were in the Palladium. Man.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you, Curtis. I mean, doing what you do. You're involved 100%, and you're keeping the music alive, and you help us as musicians to keep going. And we all work together. It's just one common goal to keep the music alive. And and I love going to Charlotte. We live here, we play, but when we go road trip, we're going to Charlotte. All right, are we staying? No, you got to pay your own hotel. There's no hotel money, but we love going. I mean, I stayed. We got a room and we stayed. I said, I'm staying. We're gonna go have dinner. We're gonna go hear the Romero and the Rodriguez boys play, and we'll spend the night and go home tomorrow. But Charlotte is a happening place. It's a happening place. It's a big city. It's growing. And now Johnny in the area. I can't wait to see all the stuff Johnny's going to do over there. And one of these days when he's got something, I'm going to pop up over there and take that off my bucket list. That I play bongo with Johnny Conga.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Yes,
well,
sir.
We can make that happen.
Yes, sir. We will.
So I'll just say before we wrap it up, let me tell everybody, don't go away for a minute, cats. Just want to let everybody know about things that are coming up. Our next conversation with Curtis will be on August 10th, next month, right here, August 10th, 8 p.m. Happy to have the international drummer and record label owner of WJ3 Records, the great Willie Jones III, will be with us. The set on July 22nd, that's our live streaming series, will feature the great drummer Kobe Watkins. We love these percussionists, y'all. Kobe Watkins will be 8 p.m. here as well. This Friday at 6 p.m., the Jazz Arts Youth Summer Camp. Students will present jazz at the McGlowan. That is free. Go to www.thejazzarts.org to find out about it. And our final summer series show, Jazz at Victoria Yards, we will feature the wonderful vocalist Robin Springer and Dream Root. That's August 20th. Again, go to our websites for tickets. Let me ask these cats here if they are still here with us. Hopefully they are. Where can people find each of you in the immediate, next few weeks, wherever they are? Because not only in Charlotte, but around. Where are y'all playing that they might be able to check y'all out?
Well, we'll be in Charlotte. I mean, our next gig with Orquesta Caché is August the 7th. It's going to be in Hope Mills, right outside of Fayetteville. But on August 28th, we'll be with Orquesta Caché in Charlotte. Okay. So I don't know the venue yet. I'll get you that information so you could let the people know. And then we're back. I'm sorry, the 28th is in Concord. Okay. In Concord, and then on the October the 2nd, it's in Charlotte with Orquesta Caché. And I'll get you those venues because I don't, I know we're there, but I don't know any addresses or venues right now where they are. They're all outdoor festival type presentations. So we got 3 little visits coming up, 2 August and October, 2 visits to Charlotte with Orquesta Caché. We would love for for the people that went and saw us at the Jazz Room to, you know, come out and see us. And you know, there
we are. There we all are.
There we all are. Yes, sir. That was it, you know. And I want to give a shout out to Lonnie and to OC, obviously, and yourself, Curtis, and all the people involved, Savannah, and helped us out today, and everybody that's involved. And a shout out to all my guys in my band, our musical director, Matthew Perinac, our trombone player, Adi, Jason, Paul, Paco, Julio, Rafael, Andrew, William, all the cats, Christopher, and Paco. So, you know, they're very good musicians. They love going to play for, you know, in Charlotte, and they'll all be going with us over there when we get down there. They'll all be around.
All right. Johnny, Phil, anything y'all got coming?
Yeah, I got some coming up the 31st with Tommy Lopez. But you can always, I always put everything on my Facebook page. So check with my Facebook page. I have 2 of them on Facebook, actually. So always check my Facebook page for upcoming gigs. Right now, the only one we have booked is July 31st. I think it's in Matthews. It's going to be, I think it's a private event. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, and that would be at Johnny Conga is where they would look?
Yeah, Johnny Conga on Facebook.
All right.
Yeah, and mine on Facebook, it would be Billy Marrero or Salsa Wiz Productions or Orquesta Caché or Jazzeando Latin Jazz, whatever. There's like 10 pages all over the place.
Just go to any of them, you'll get it, man.
Right. Thank you for the opportunity once again to be able to do this. It's a pleasure meeting everybody, and and learning experience
as well for me.
And Phil, what about you?
Well, we're doing a Jazzeando gig in Lake Forest, and that is, when is that, Billy?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's coming up. Yeah, Jazzeando at the Joyner Park. They're doing a summer series of called 7 Sundays, and we're doing one of those Sundays with Jazzeando Latin Jazz. That's over here in the Raleigh area, Joyner Park, and that I believe is in September. Sometime in September.
Nice.
So the weather won't be that hot. That'll be good.
Yeah, no, that's even better, man.
Yeah,
it's still nice around here.
Yeah.
Billy Marrero, Phil Merritt, Johnny Conga, thank you, brothers, for spending a little time, and thank you with your patience with me for being a few minutes past our usual start time, and thank you to all of us, our audience, for coming in and joining us live tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. On behalf of all of us at Jazz Arc Charlotte, my name is Curtis Davenport. Of course, Kurt Jazz. You can hear me now and forever at my station. That is Kurt Jazz Radio, where music like these cats and other things live 24/7. KurtJazz.com is a good place to find us. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Be safe. Have a wonderful rest of the summer till we see you again. God bless you, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.